13-year-old daughter. Since starting school, she has suffered headaches daily, had a very low immune system, and is always fatigued. After many doctor's appointments and consultations in Ottawa, there were no diagnoses that could relieve her symptoms. By grade 2, out of desperation, we took her to London, England to see a specialist. She was diagnosed with electromagnetic hypersensitivity. Sorry. I tried, hoping it wouldn't happen. We immediately removed all our deck phones and Wi-Fi from our home. She had relief at home, but continued to suffer at school. We discovered there were 2 cell phone towers outside her school that were impacting her. She continued to go to school, but missed about 50 to 60 days a year due to her headaches and low immune system. Her principals and teachers were aware, and we tried to reduce her exposure as much as possible. The other children teased and bullied her because how could she possibly be allergic or sensitive to radiation? Early in grade 4, her symptoms drastically got worse. After a week or so, I knew something had changed in her environment. She said her headaches were far worse when the teacher used his headset. I went into the classroom with my monitor to discover that he was using a wireless headset, and the base station was directly behind her desk. The levels were very, very high at her desk. After discussions with the teacher and principal, the system was disabled, and my husband and I purchased an infrared system for the classroom. This was our first interaction with the school board, where we disclosed her condition and asked that no other wireless be deployed in her classroom. They approved the IR system we bought for the school and met all the safety standards. In the meantime, we renovated our basement, adding a bedroom complete with shielding paint to enable her to sleep in an environment where her body could detoxify the radiation at night. At the beginning of grade 5, her school closed and she was moved to another school. It was wonderful. There was no cell towers nearby and hardly any reception on a cell phone. For the first time in her life, she attended school without a headache. She tried and made out for school teams. She was very involved with her friends, wasn't missing so much school. Her energy level was vastly improved. Her academics soared. At the end of the year, she was honored as one of the top 2 children in her class. Grade 6 started on the same note as grade 5 ended. Academically, socially, and athletically, things were great. Right after March break, she started coming home from school complaining of headaches again. Upon investigation, we discovered that Wi-Fi had been deployed throughout her school. Of course, no parents were informed that this was happening. Many more meetings with the principal and school board were held. We just wanted her last 3 months of elementary school to be fun and pain-free. They had no applications yet running on over the Wi-Fi, but they insisted on leaving it on. It was miserable. It was a miserable last 3 months with lots of missed school as her health was ailing. We started taking her to a cranial osteopath weekly to help relieve her symptoms. In grade 7, she moved to a middle school where Wi-Fi was deployed and there were 2 cell towers near. She could barely attend school. The day she went to school, she came home to the basement, turned off all the lights, and slept to try to relieve the headache. No Advil or Tylenol relieved the pain. After many meetings with principals, teachers, and school board superintendents, they could not come up with a solution to accommodate her needs. She was the only student in their board that they were aware of that had EHS. She desperately wanted to go to school, but it was incredibly painful. She missed so much school last year, no one wanted to work on projects with her. Socially and academically, she was really struggling, but she persevered. By Christmas, we realized she could only attend school to 2 to 3 hours a day. So we decided to homeschool her for math and science. As her subjects rotated each day, it was a huge impact to my husband and I, who both work full-time and need to travel internationally frequently. Her needs came first. By June, the school board decided to have her school assessed. They hired a consultant to come from Toronto to monitor the radiation levels in the school. Of course, they all met Safety Code 6. It didn't address my daughter's needs or conditions, but now they have a report to hide behind. Her doctor cannot help her as she has no training or understanding of EHS. We have tried to get her to see the only environmental doctor in Ottawa, but the wait list is 2 years and they're not accepting any new patients. She's on a wait list for the Princess Margaret Hospital in Toronto. We have tried various alternative therapies to help her feel normal. She knows what normal is as her summers are pain-free. It is only going to school that makes her ill. Over the summer, I started taking her weekly to Toronto for a novel treatment along with a monthly cranial osteopathic treatment. So far this year, she's been able to stay in school most of the day. She does not like to go to Toronto for appointments as she misses school, her friends, her sports, and activities. But we have no other alternative. Enabling our daughter to go to school has come at a huge cost to our family, both financially and time-wise. It has impacted her socially, academically, and athletically. children need to be supported. I often wonder if it was my work as a computer scientist and a heavy user of wireless devices while in the telecom industry, while pregnant for her, that has caused her problems. I currently work in the genetics field and understand the harmful impacts to one's DNA. Pregnant women need to be warned. My daughter has aspirations to be a veterinarian, but she needs to get an education to achieve it. She needs to be in a school pain-free to get an education. Besides all the information presented today, please consider the huge biological impact that Safety Code 6 has on our daughter and the future generations of children. We are fortunate our 11-year-old son is not EHS, but I am very concerned for his health by sending him to school. I shouldn't have to worry that his school environment is poisoning him. As a computer scientist, I understand the desire for fast, easy access to information. There are safe ways to achieve this. Safety Code 6 needs to be revised, and it needs to be done now. Thank you.
Any comments?
Oh.
Brian?
When summer comes, how long does it take for normal to return?
For her body to detoxify, it depends on her length of exposure. So we were finding last year, if she had 2 to 3 hours of exposure, she would need about 4 to 5 hours to detoxify. Your body builds up over time. So over the summer, with the 2 months off, September usually is not too bad. It's usually by the end of September where she really starts to see her effects. So it's a cumulative effect. But now she's going to school 5 to 6 hours a day. We're trying to keep her there as long as possible during the day. And she comes home and then detoxifies for the rest of the evening. She spends most of the time. We have her workspace, her desk, everything, her computer that's wired in the basement. So she spends most of her evening and the night in the basement to allow her body to detoxify for the next day. There's very little medication that actually helps her. We have some homeopathics that actually help her speed along the detoxification, but there's nothing else that we're aware of, and we've tried almost everything to help her. Other questions? Thank you.